The question hung in the air longer than it should have, as if the small cafe itself had stopped breathing. Emily Carter tightened her grip on the edge of the wooden table, unsure whether to smile or turn away. People usually turned away from her first. From the metal prosthetic where her left leg should have been. From the faint limp she could never fully hide. From the quiet sadness she carried like an old wound that refused to heal. The janitor looked up slowly. He was wiping the same spot on the table again and again, as if polishing memories instead of wood. His hair was gray, his uniform faded, and his hands, rough and scarred, paused mid-motion. "Yes," he said softly. "I've been saving this seat for you." Emily blinked. You don't know me." He smiled, but there was pain in it. "I know loss," he replied. "That's usually enough." Something inside her cracked. Emily had survived a war overseas, an explosion, a hospital room that smelled of antiseptic and grief, and the moment a doctor named her injury with careful words that still felt like a sentence. She'd survived the physical pain, the surgeries, the months of learning how to walk again. What she hadn't survived, at least not yet, was coming home. At home, people clapped for soldiers on television, thanked them in airports, posted flags on social media. But when they saw her in person, their eyes dropped. Conversations grew awkward. Some offered pity, others offered silence. Both hurt the same. That morning, Emily had forced herself out of her apartment. Her therapist, Drive, Wilson, had suggested small goals. Just be around people, he'd said. You don't have to talk. Just exist. So she walked, slowly, painfully, into the cafe near the bus station. It was crowded, loud, and full of life she felt excluded from. The only empty chair was across from a janitor clearly on his break. And now she was sitting with him. "I'm Emily," she said finally, her voice careful. "Thomas," he replied. "Most folks call me Tom." They sat in silence for a moment. Not the awkward kind, something deeper. Shared. "You're a soldier," Tom said gently, not staring at her leg, but not pretending it wasn't there either. "Yes." "Army." "Yes." He nodded. "My son was Army." Emily's breath caught. "Was." Tom folded the cloth, placed it neatly on the table. "Daniel," he said. "Staff Sergeant Daniel Miller. Killed 12 years ago." "I'm so sorry," Emily whispered. "So am I," he said. "Every day." Something in his honesty disarmed her. Most people avoided grief, dressed it up in cliches. Tom let it sit between them, raw and real. They began to talk. Emily told him about the desert heat, the dust that never left your skin, the friendships forged in fear and laughter. She told him about the explosion, not in detail, but enough. About waking up and knowing something was missing before anyone said a word. Tom listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't rush her. He listened the way people do when they understand pain not as a concept, but as a companion. When it was his turn, Tom spoke of Daniel. A boy who loved baseball and old hymns. A man who called every Sunday, no matter where he was stationed. A soldier who wrote letters instead of texts because they last longer. He died saving 2 men from his unit, Tom said quietly. They lived. He didn't. Emily swallowed hard. That matters, she said. Tom nodded. It does. But knowing that doesn't make the house any less quiet. They met again the next day. And the day after that. The cafe staff began to expect it. The soldier with the prosthetic leg and the janitor with the gentle eyes. They always sat at the same table. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they didn't. Emily learned that Tom cleaned the bus station, the public library, and the cafe at night. He'd lost his job years ago when the factory closed. Lost his wife to cancer not long after. Cleaning was what he could find. I don't mind, he said once. Keeps me moving. Keeps my hands busy when my mind won't stop. Emily shared her own challenges. Nightmares. Sudden panic when she heard loud noises. The guilt of surviving when others didn't. I feel broken, she admitted one afternoon, staring into her coffee. Tom shook his head. Broken things can still be useful, he said. Sometimes more so. A week later, Emily overheard a conversation at a nearby table. Why does she sit with the janitor? Someone whispered. Isn't she a hero? The words stung more than she expected. That night, Emily didn't go to the cafe. She stayed in her apartment, staring at the wall, letting the old thoughts creep back in. Maybe she didn't belong anywhere anymore. Not in the military, not among civilians, not even at that table. The next morning, there was a knock at her door. She opened it to find Tom, holding a small paper bag. "I hope this isn't strange," he said awkwardly. "You didn't come yesterday." I worried. Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't think you'd notice." Tom smiled sadly. "My whole job is noticing what others ignore." Inside the bag was a folded letter. "It's Daniel's," Tom said. "He wrote it a week before he died. I've never shown it to anyone." Emily hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Yes." She read it slowly. Daniel wrote about fear, about purpose, about faith. About how losing pieces of yourself didn't mean losing your worth. "If I come home different," the letter read, "I hope people still see me. And if I don't come home at all, I hope someone remembers that my life mattered because I loved and served." Emily broke down. They cried together, standing in her doorway like two souls holding each other upright. From that day on, something shifted. Emily began volunteering at a local veterans center. At first, she just helped with paperwork. Then she started talking to other wounded soldiers. Listening, sharing. Tom came too, on his days off. He cleaned, fixed broken chairs, made coffee. He listened to stories no one else had time for. One afternoon, a young veteran named Michael stared at Emily's prosthetic and said, "How do you live with it?" Emily smiled. "One step at a time," she said. "With people who don't walk away." Months passed. The cafe table became a symbol. Other people started joining them. A widow, a single mother, a retired teacher. The table grew louder, warmer, alive. One day, the cafe owner approached Tom. "We're promoting you," she said. "Manager. If you want it." Tom hesitated. "Only if I can keep this table." The owner laughed. "Deal." Emily stood at a podium a year later, speaking at a community event for veterans. Tom sat in the front row. "I once asked to share a table," Emily said, her voice steady. "I thought I was asking for space. What I received was belonging." She looked at Tom. "Sometimes the people society overlooks are the ones who teach us how to stand again, even when we're missing a leg." The room rose in applause. Afterward, Tom hugged her. "Daniel would have been proud of you," he said. Emily smiled through tears. "I think he already is. And at that cafe, every day, there is still a table. It's never empty. Because healing, like hope, is meant to be shared."